Off the Dome Sports Podcast, where two sports lovers give their hot takes off the dome. I am Clown Car.
And I am Mustang.
Man, that's weird, isn't it? And this podcast is brought to you by The Know. Our friends at The Know, spelled Kneaux, the only way to spell it. You can follow them on Twitter, follow them on Facebook. You'll find their website. You'll find us and the other podcasts affiliated with them. Thanks. Shout out to The Know. We love you guys.
Absolutely.
How are we doing?
Doing good. A lot of sports been going on recently.
A lot
of things to talk about.
We have the LSU regionals. We had the NBA finals. We have obviously baseball is going on. So
full swing.
Let's get into it, man. Let's talk about these LSU Tigers a little bit.
Gladly. So coming up next, LSU, gets out of the regional, makes it to the super regional, and two really great games against Oregon State, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The first game against them, you saw the Tigers kind of struggle, but in the end, the Bats came alive. Hayden Travinski and Cade Beloso, you can't stop them from hitting bombs.
Yeah, they go back-to-back twice.
In back-to-back games.
Yeah, in these regionals.
And second game, had a rain delay. Or no, the first one had a rain delay, right?
Yeah. That first one had like a super long rain delay too,
which took a toll on not only LSU but also Oregon State's pitching staff.
Right.
I think without the rain delay would have been a completely different game. I still think the Tigers would have won.
Yeah.
But going deep into the bullpen, LSU finds a way to win, and then following that game to advance to the super regionals, the Bats were alive in that game. Everyone on the team was, just having a great day at the plate, except someone who I watched struggle all weekend, Tommy White.
Yeah, he was struggling pretty bad, but he did come up with the bases loaded in that last game against Oregon State. LSU already had the lead, but it was bases loaded, and he shot one the other way, kind of like, his hits are always the other way.
Yeah, he loves hitting oppo.
Yeah.
He's so good at it.
So 2-run RBI, that kind of put a cap on his regionals performance. Like, it wasn't great, but at least he had that moment.
At least he finished on a strong note.
I think pitching was kind of incredible.
Yes.
In these regionals. I mean, obviously you have that first game with Paul Skeens throwing 124 pitches in a complete game, a very questionable decision by Jay Johnson, but it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out.
He strikes out 12, gives up 2 earned, and LSU puts up 7. I mean, if you put up 7 on a Skeens day, I mean, it's hard to lose.
Correct. And, a lot of people were questioning the decision to start Skeens day one, including me. I didn't think it was, the right move, being that Oregon State was, without a doubt, the next best competitor
right
in this regionals. But with the rain delay, it definitely worked out in our favor, because having Skeens throw only 2 innings in that second game against Oregon State, and then having, to put in another pitcher, because that rain delay, when you're a pitcher, it messes you up so much.
Yeah.
You lose everything, all the momentum you had. You got to try your best to stay warm during it, but you know that in the end you'll probably won't make it back out onto the mound. So in this circumstance, I think it was a great decision to start Skeens on the first game. But
I mean, especially when Ty Floyd came out the next game. That was Ty Floyd, right?
Yes.
He didn't pitch that bad. I mean, he gave up a few earned, and then, you bring in some other guys in the rain delay. We only won by 1 run, but, LSU, I mean, they've gotten, blown out before when it comes to their bullpen coming in and blowing leads. So the bullpen in that game was kind of mediocre, and that's what we need out of them to be successful, at least. We just can't have them be a burden on us.
Yeah.
But you have the Oregon State game where we have Coop pitching, and then nasty Nate Ackenhausen comes in, and he has a good bottom of the 5th. He comes in in the 6th, and he gives up that really high home run. Were you watching? He gives up that really high home run, went all the way out to right field, and then it just rattled him. The very next batter, he hit on 4 pitches. And then they took him out, and then Herring comes in, and he picks him up. He picks him up really nicely. So I was glad to see that. Like when some guys can't perform, you got to bring in your next guy. Like, hey man, I'm gonna pick you up.
Yep.
And I thought that was really nice. Herring, I think he did give up a run at some point, but he had a good, solid few innings until like the 8th. He carried him.
Yeah, and it's always good to have that sort of a next guy up mentality in baseball, especially in a bullpen, because with a roster like this with LSU, you know that they're going to put up runs. You just have to let the damage be a minimum as a pitcher.
Yeah.
You don't have to win the game. Not everyone has to be Paul Skeens, and I've said it before. If you put the ball in play and give your defense a chance, you will be successful with this LSU team.
Right. Next up, we have we have the super regionals.
Yeah.
I mean, LSU they're going to be taking on Kentucky. Kentucky defeated those Hoosiers. Indiana in the Lexington bracket, is that what it is?
Yes.
They defeated them in the Lexington bracket. Now they're going to be facing each other. They faced already once in the season, and LSU swept them.
Yeah, swept them on the series. It was right at the peak of, I think, LSU's momentum. They were so hot,
right?
Bullpen and all. And I'm hoping they could pick up that momentum again, going on to these super regionals, and then hopefully the College World Series. But looking at this Kentucky matchup, they have some pretty good bats. I wouldn't say there's as good as Oregon State, who might have had the hottest bats in the country coming into the regionals, and they showed it. Every man on that team was getting a hit at any given at bat against any given pitcher. But Kentucky, not so much. They kind of slumped in these regionals, which, I mean, they already weren't too hot to begin with, but they still have some good bats. Still one of those teams where you got to make the right decisions as a pitcher. But one thing that Kentucky doesn't have that I've seen is a pitching staff.
Right.
It's not a good matchup at all if you're a Kentucky fan looking to go against these LSU Tigers, because they have some hot bats. They're another one of those teams where every man in that roster, every man on that lineup can hit a home run on any given pitch.
They don't have a Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
And in a best of 3 series, like when you have to win 2 games to move on, I mean, when we're talking about Paul Skeens, I mean, those are hard starts to lose. So, like, if LSU somehow loses Skeens' game, then I think Kentucky will fight us. But if LSU wins that first Skeens game, I think winning 2 out of 3, I think the bats can handle it.
Yeah. I think if we get a solid game out of Skeens where we win, notably, I think the momentum will carry on. I think we're definitely going to win one of the 2 next games.
Yeah.
No matter who's on the mound, I think this team is riding a high from the regionals, and they're going to continue to ride it till a team can step up and show them that they're not the number 1 seed. I think they are. Wake Forest, who?
Yeah, momentum is really important, and LSU is coming off of a regional where they kind of beat they won every game. In Kentucky, I don't know if they lost, but they're definitely not as high as LSU is. I mean, LSU, when they're hot, I mean, they're the hottest team in the country. I don't think that's deniable. But yeah, I mean, the rest of the Super Regionals is shaping out. We have Tennessee, Southern Miss. That's probably going to be Tennessee.
They had some big upsets in these regionals. I mean, host Auburn gets knocked out.
Yeah. Clemson gets knocked out.
Arkansas gets destroyed by TCU.
TCU is a good team, man.
Yeah, those bats definitely came alive in those back-to-back games that they had.
I'm personally really excited to see Oral Roberts in the Super Regionals.
Yeah.
That's not a team you hear about very often.
Unless it's in a March Madness.
Yeah. So that's kind of fun. This is kind of our own kind of March Madness. But it's more, I don't know, it's more seeding tournament style.
Yeah. Another one that I think is going to be a really hard team to beat in the College World Series will be this Virginia team.
Yeah, they're good.
We saw them just completely dominate their regional, and I was shocked. Well, I wasn't shocked, but I was disappointed to see that East Carolina didn't make it out of there. I love that team. You know, they were very underrated coming into these regionals with a 45-17 record, being the 3 seed in their regional. And they definitely put up some fight in the regional, beating Oklahoma, which I was so happy to see. But
you know what I like the most about East Carolina? Their logo.
The pirate logo, the skull. Yeah,
it's an all-time logo, man. I mean, it's skull, crossbones with the purple and gold hat. I mean, I can't deny that. I'm no East Carolina fan, and I'd wear a shirt, I'd wear a jersey, hat, something.
And then you go to another upset in Florida, with Miami getting upset by Texas, and you know, most of the other brackets were pretty chalk. I mean, Stanford going on, I thought A&M was going to, you know, be the upset there and come back and win it, but Stanford holds on.
Yep.
They advance.
I think we're looking at least two really good series. I think Wake Forest and Alabama is gonna be a very fun super regional. Simply because, you know, Wake Forest, they won 50 games, number one team in the country, and this Alabama team is scrappy. I mean, they can hit, they can pitch, and they're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah. One thing I find Alabama's really good at this year is holding on.
Yeah.
Like they're never really out of it. They're always able to hold on. You know, even if they give up a few runs, they kind of try and scratch a few of their own. But they're really good in the close games in the end, where if they have a chance, they're going to take it.
Yeah.
So if you're Wake Forest, you got to go up a lot of runs. You got to hold on to that lead, and you got to have a good guy on the bump, because they will hit you around. They're not going to devastate you with home runs or doubles or any extra base hits. They're going to single you to death.
And earlier you said Wake Forest who? I mean, they didn't play anybody in the regionals.
Yeah, oh yeah, they by far had the easiest bracket.
They played Maryland, Northeastern, and George Mason. Good golly. I mean, like, put LSU against those teams. I mean, I think we win each game by 10. I mean,
yeah, 10-run rule every game in the regionals.
Yeah, but I think that'll be a good one. I think another good one is going to be this Florida South Carolina.
That's my my matchup to watch.
All right.
This weekend. That's going to be a good back and forth series. I think South Carolina, another team with a lot of power on the bats. Florida is one of those teams similar to Wake Forest in that they play smart.
Right.
So could be a really fun matchup to watch. That's my matchup of the weekend.
Who do you think is going to win?
I think Florida will win. I think they have the better pitching staff.
Yeah. I think Florida too. And I'm just kind of tired of South Carolina. I mean, South Carolina kind of embarrassed themselves earlier this season facing us, because wasn't it they won the series, or they split the series with us, and they were like, we won another one. Well, give us one more, and then we played them again and we smoked them. It was something like that. So I'm just kind of tired of South Carolina fans. So I'm down with Florida, and I'm down for the Alabama upset on Wake Forest. I'm fine with all of the upsets, because that makes an easier path for LSU
absolutely
in the College World Series, if we're lucky enough to make it. I
think we will be. Like I said, this. I was telling you just before we started this that I'm not really worried about this Kentucky team. I think, you know, I said the regionals, I was more worried about getting out of the regionals than I was going from the Super Regional to the College World Series, because I think Oregon State is such a much better team than Kentucky. They're more well-rounded. Kentucky's kind of just, they have some bats and that's it. Pitching-wise, they're not really one of the top dogs to worry about, and I think that's a huge mismatch when facing an LSU team like this, where we're going to put the bat on the ball, and we're going to run around the bases.
Yeah, they honestly, they can't really pitch all that great. They have a few guys. They have some guys in their bullpen with sub-2s. They have one starter. I think he has like 4 wins. He has a sub-2, but everybody else is hovering around 3.5, 4, and some go up even to like 5, 6 ERA. So, you know, if the LSU bats can capitalize on that kind of pitching, once we get into, I don't know, maybe the third game of the series, that'll be a pivotal game, some pivotal innings to happen against this bullpen.
And I'm looking at the Kentucky depth chart right now, kind of their stats on the season. They do only have one pitcher below 2.
How about that?
With a 1.95, Mason Moore.
That's solid. So he'll probably be their game one.
Yeah, he'll probably match up against Skeens on the first game, but then after that, the next best pitcher has a 3.74.
Yeah.
And only 15 appearances.
I could see them doing an opener kind of thing. You know what I mean? Kind of like LSU did with Cooper this last game. Let a bullpen guy come out, pitch like 3 innings, and then have it be a bullpen game. Because it seems to me like their bullpen is a little better than their starting rotation. It's kind of what it seems to me.
Yeah. But nonetheless, still, that pitching for them has not been a good thing this season, and I think LSU will capitalize on that.
Yeah. Should be fun. I just want them to go to Omaha. That's all I'm waiting for.
So
Before
bad.
the season, that's
So
all
bad.
I've been saying.
Yeah. And I think we will. Fingers crossed, but I think we have the team to make it there this year. Confident saying that.
I think it'll be a problem if we waste this shot. Because we have found ourselves in a scenario where we don't have only the number 1 overall pick in the next MLB draft. We have the number 1 and the number 2 overall pick in next year's draft in Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens. I think it's unlikely you find talent like those two guys on your team in like decades, and it's rare enough that they're on the same team at the same time.
Yep.
And I feel like we have to win a championship for those guys.
Got to. Let's make our shot count.
Yeah. It's now or never. It's like the Rams selling out to win a Super Bowl. Even though we didn't even sell out, we get more recruits, man. It's the beauty of college.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, pivoting to a little bit of basketball. I want to talk some NBA Finals, these Nuggets and the Heat.
For sure. I mean, the game will be starting here in about 15 or so minutes. Game 3, first game in Miami.
Yeah.
Is Skeens undeniably the best pitcher in college?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think his stuff just plays on a different level.
Yeah.
I mean, his stats might not be the most gaudy. I mean, his stats are gaudy, but he might not have, like statistically the lowest ERA. But when you watch him pitch, you could see his pitches get up to 97, 99 in like the last 10 pitches of his start.
Yeah, he'll be 70 pitches deep and still throwing triple digits. It's crazy.
Right. You can see the way his slider moves and the way his changeup moves, and you could see it. You could see, like, if this guy pitched in the big leagues today, he might have a shot. And you can't say that with a lot of other guys. So I think he's clear-cut the best pitcher in next year's draft.
Yeah, I mean, look at his strikeout numbers. It's crazy.
Yeah, that the whiff rate is crazy.
He's averaging like 12 strikeouts a start.
Yeah, I think there's an argument for guys like him, guys like Dylan Cruz, to be like the best LSU has ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul Skeens might be the best pitcher that LSU has ever seen on their roster. Same thing with Dylan Cruz. He might be the best player in LSU's history. I don't know how much of a hot take that is anymore, but I think that might be where we're at.
But yeah, I mean, Paul Skeens, he's done so much work because coming off of Air Force, he was a two-way player.
Yeah.
And then when he transferred here, they want him to be. They saw his pitching, saw how hard he could throw, and he focused on that. And he even added some more velo to his fastball, and he changed the way he throws his slider from, that that more traditional kind of down into the left angle to more of a sweeping slider, which kind of it allows you to put more velocity on a breaking ball while still making it break a crazy amount.
It's very popular nowadays. The sweeper. The slider that doesn't go down just kind of goes whoop, and just kind of to the side.
Yeah. It runs outside on right-handers, inside on left-handers, and it is deadly when a man like Skeens throws it with that much speed.
It's like a Adam Ottavino. You ever seen an Adam Ottavino slider? That's what it's like. An Adam Ottavino slider. It's like if they gave it a name.
Yeah.
I mean, so a lot of people are throwing those sweepers. It's fun to see. But anyway, these NBA Finals. The Nuggets take Game 1. Jokic has another triple-double.
Yep.
I mean, he's kind of unstoppable, and I think they kind of realize that.
Yeah. That first game, he puts up 14, 10, and 27.
Yeah.
Just a great game from him. not the scoring that, people have seen him do in these finals, but the leadership, the ability to move that ball around and find some open shooters or someone cut into the paint is just on a next level.
And in that first game, the Heat had no answer for it. Like, they
No.
shot
Yeah.
horribly.
I mean-
like, Jimmy Butler only had 13. I mean, that's what I was begging the Celtics to do. I was begging the Celtics, hey, cut off Jimmy Butler. Try your best. And the Nuggets found a way that first game. Caleb Martin ends up with 3 points on 25 minutes.
Yeah, man who's been so hot in
Yeah.
these playoffs gets shut down finally
Yeah.
in the first game of the finals.
Bam was the only Heat player to have a good game.
Yeah, Bam and Gabe Vincent were the main scorers in that first game, which kind of surprised me. I didn't expect Bam to come out swinging like this, being matched up with Jokic, a much taller, much stronger guy. But Bam, he's quick. He's
Right.
quick to take that first step towards the basket. And it's been working in both the first two games, really. I mean, he had 26 in the first game, and then I want to say like pretty similar, maybe like a 29 in the 21 in the second game.
Yeah, there you go.
So 2 back-to-back games over 20 points for Bam Adebayo. Props to you. But the second game,
Second game was a little different. I think this is more of the story.
yeah,
Heat learn from that first one, and and the Heat, they realize, hey, we're not going to be able to stop Jokic. So let's let Jokic do his thing, and let's just kind of just let him score. I mean, that's kind of what they did, but let's defend him from getting other people involved. So Jokic finished the second game with only 4 assists, which is so low for him.
yeah.
So I think that's why the Heat won this game. They were able to spread the ball around in a way that the Nuggets were not. So, and it's easier to win with 5 players than 1.
Correct, yeah. In that second game, Jokic was really their only scorer with 41 points.
Shout out Michael Porter Jr. 5 points, no assists.
MPJ could not shoot in the second game.
Kentavious Caldwell Pope.
KCP, also another one who could not find the basket, really. But Jamal Murray still had a pretty good game with 18 points, 10 assists.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if the Heat play like they did in the second game, I mean, it was a close game. They only won by 3, but they made their shots count.
Yeah.
That's what they did. They played good defense, and they made their shots count. If they can continue to do that, I could see them ruffling some feathers in this finals.
Yeah.
Especially being tonight, first game back in Miami. Fans are going to be roaring. I think they're going to come ready to play. But
Go check out the Heat stats from this past game. They spread the ball around. They had 3 guys with 20-plus points.
yeah,
Everybody had an assist. It was just one of those things. They were firing on all cylinders. Bam and Jimmy, they got off. Gabe Vincent, he got off. They were the model of consistency. And I think that's what you're gonna need to beat this Nuggets team. It's gonna be weird if they keep doing stuff like this and Jokic puts up 40, 50, 35 every night, but the Nuggets keep losing. That'll be so interesting if that happens. We'll see.
Could be like the first time we see a Finals MVP winner on the losing team if Jokic does that.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, the Heat haven't really had anyone stand out. I mean, I feel like Bam has been their best player in the finals thus far.
And Ethan puts up a very good point in the chat. He said difference to note, when it was a bad game for Miami, they were blown out. But when it was a bad game for the Nuggets, it was still a close game. And that's very true. The Nuggets, they couldn't play their traditional brand of basketball, but they still kept it close.
Right. I feel like
It's only a 3-point game. And
That's-
we saw when the Heat weren't, kind of firing on all cylinders, they kind of weren't firing on any cylinders.
Right. That's a fair point, but, I feel like we already knew that this Nuggets team was leaps and bounds better than the Heat. I mean, the Heat, they were playing team,
Yeah.
and they make it to the NBA Finals. The Nuggets, they didn't really have to play anybody. They've been the number 1 seed all year, number 1 seed throughout the playoffs. So, I mean, we're expecting the Nuggets to be a little bit better, but you can't count out, playoff Jimmy Butler. I mean, as funny as it is to say, I think Jimmy Butler is going to have to will this Heat team to a win.
Yeah. And he's definitely gotten some help in the more recent games than, we saw at the beginning of the playoffs, he was really the only light for this Heat team. And now, since he's proven to this team that, we belong here, we can win this, they've kind of caught on to that momentum leading up to the finals, and they've helped him out big time, especially in that Celtics series. They played some great basketball against the Celtics.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like it's translating too well. I mean, we'll see tonight. Tonight could be a big tone setter for the rest of the series.
Just quickly, speaking of the last round of the NBA playoffs, how do you feel about the Lakers manager, the Lakers coach joining the Suns, or was it the Suns coach getting fired? What was it?
So the Suns fired Monty Williams, which was a huge mistake. And from my perspective, I mean, you saw that team doing basically nothing, and then Monty Williams joins. You get Chris Paul, you draft Ayton. Booker was already there, and he leads that team to the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
And you let him go and hire Frank Vogel.
That's where I got the Lakers from, because Vogel was
Yes.
the Lakers coach, right?
I don't think he was.
At some point,
Yeah,
he was. At
yes.
some point,
At some point in his career, he was not too long ago.
Yeah, I think it's a very questionable decision from a team that has been trying to push to these finals every year. And I guess like when you have as much talent as you could possibly have, I guess at some point, just maybe to send a message, you have to go for somebody else.
Yeah.
Like fire a coach, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you see, they bring on Kevin Durant, make kind of this super team, and it doesn't work out. Which, I mean, it was their first year together. You got to build, especially in NBA, you got to build that chemistry.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. I think that if they would have kept Monty Williams and kept all these pieces, that next year they would have blown teams out in the playoffs.
It makes up a question. Like I wonder if it's possible for a Kevin Durant to even win a finals like without those Golden State Warriors. I mean, he's been to the Nets. He was hurt the whole time.
Yeah, I mean,
so
yeah.
I don't want to blame him for that. But he left, and he goes to these Suns, who are perennially, at least like the last 3-4 years, they've made the playoffs. They've been a great team, especially with Devin Booker and all those guys, and they just come up short every year. So I mean, it's weird to think about, like a guy like Kevin Durant, who is obviously like one of the greatest players to ever live and one of the greatest players in our game today. I mean, it just doesn't seem like he's gonna have another shot at those finals, in my own opinion.
Yeah, he's definitely in age, he's getting up there, but he's still a force to be reckoned with in the NBA. I mean, we see it day in and day out during the regular season, him casually dropping 30 points.
yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely getting towards the end of his career. If he wants another ring, it might have to be with a super team, to say.
Yeah.
But
someone argue the Suns just built a super team with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and I mean Chris Paul, who's getting waived, but
they
Chris
built
Paul.
a super team. But like I said, they didn't give him the time to form that chemistry.
Right.
Especially now that they got rid of Monty Williams, waived Chris Paul, probably not bringing back Ayton. All this crazy stuff happening. Yeah, Ethan brings up another good point. They might just be catering to KD. They might look to him for answers since he's that superstar player. See who he wants to bring in. Maybe he wants to change some things around.
Yeah,
But,
we know at this point that maybe a Jaylen Brown is leaving. What if they go find a Jaylen Brown somewhere in free agency? I mean, that'd be nuts, wouldn't it? Go find a Jaylen Brown. Go do something like that. I mean, if we do that kind of thing. What are your thoughts on them waiving Chris Paul? Veteran, like it's not a very nice way for him to say, "Hey, get out."
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows Chris Paul loves Monty Williams, so he might follow him to the Pistons, depending on if they care to bring him on. We know they have Cade Cunningham, who's very young, very talented player.
But aren't the Pistons really bad? Really bad?
They are. They were riddled with injury this year, which could be a point to why they were so bad, but also could just be because they're the Pistons.
Yeah.
But our friend Rebo Hustle said told me this a few days ago. He said, give the Pistons 4 years and they'll win a finals.
Ooh, okay.
With Monty Williams at the head, he said they'll win a finals.
Someone needs to write that down because I will forget. I forget a lot about what that man says.
I'll never forget.
But yeah, any interest in maybe a New Orleans reunion for Chris Paul?
That would be insane. I mean, it is a piece that New Orleans is looking for.
Any interest?
I'm interested.
All right.
I mean, any sane fan would be interested in Chris Paul, especially for, seeing how much it would take to get him here.
Yeah.
Because he's such a good player.
I can't imagine he'd be too expensive at this point in his career.
No, I mean,
to sign him. Like I don't think it'd be.
Yeah, especially if we get him on like a 1-year deal.
Yeah, he's gonna be like a veteran kind of guy. Maybe like a Andrew McCutchen. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna come out of the Pirates, he went to the Yankees, the Phillies. Like he's gonna be bouncing around like a Ricky Henderson.
Way to compare Chris Paul to Andrew McCutchen.
Dude, the
baseball references are gonna get out of hand with us two at the helm.
Yeah. You want to talk about Matt Lawton? If Chris Paul could drag that Oklahoma City team a few years ago to the playoffs, I think he can help Cade and Stewart. I mean, maybe. But wasn't Russ on that team?
On the Thunder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Russ was amazing. So I don't know.
Russ was so good every year he was on the Thunder.
So I don't know if that was Chris Paul dragging him to the playoffs. I feel like Russell Westbrook was having one of the most amazing primes in NBA history.
I mean, he was averaging a triple-double.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think Chris Paul is going to end up in a supporting role on one of these teams. He might follow Monty. He might come to the Pels.
Drop in chat where you think Chris Paul's going to land or where you would want to see him land, either one or both.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think it's going to be a similar offseason to not this last season, but the offseason before that for the NFL, which was absolutely crazy. So many moving pieces going on. I think it'll be similar to that.
Yeah. I mean, it was like that last season with Major League Baseball. They had 8 shortstops, the Aaron Judge sweepstakes, it'll be fun. But getting off of the Suns, somehow we turned into a Suns pod. Who do you have tonight in this Heat Nuggets? Who takes Game 3 in Miami?
I think it's gonna be another close game, but like Ethan said, when the Suns, not the Suns. Why are we talking about the Suns? When the Heat have a bad game, they get blown out. When the Nuggets do, it's still a close game. I think the Nuggets are gonna, figure things out a little bit better, come back and win this game. And I think, like I, predicted before the final started, I think I'll still take the Nuggets in 5.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I look at this matchup and based off of the past 2 games, Nuggets come out and kind of dominate in that first game, and then in the second game, Heat kind of catch the Nuggets on their heels, trying to figure it out. So this game, I think the Nuggets have a little bit better, even though they're both great coached teams. I think the Nuggets have a little bit better coaching, and I think the Nuggets are going to come out and they're going to adjust to that game plan that the Heat set in the last game. So tonight, I think I like the Nuggets, and I don't know if I like them in 5. I mean, I think the Heat could grab one while they're in Miami. So I think the Heat. I think the Nuggets might win in maybe 6. If this goes to Game 7, if this finals goes to Game 7, I think it could be anyone's game. I think it'll be awesome if this goes to a Game 7 because I truly don't know who would win. I think it'll be a battle of the wits, battle of the minds, battle of the technical basketball, and that's fun basketball when you start having to get really technical with it. It's not just slam dunks and 3 points. You have to start drawing up plays and getting really creative with it. So I'm excited for these finals. They've been fun so far. I'm excited to see how they keep going.
Definitely a fun series. One that not many people expected to happen, but regardless, we're faced with it, and it's fun to watch so far. I hope it stays like that. The first game probably not so much because of it was a blowout.
Yeah.
But second game, great down to the last minute.
I mean, I think we're watching two of the greatest basketball players to ever live duke it out. I mean, we're talking about it. I mean, Jimmy Butler, he's one of the greatest.
Yeah, I mean, he's
top 100 probably.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, especially
Jokic,
after this year.
Jokic, he wins this, and then if he goes on to have a consistent career, dude, Jokic could be conversation top 3 center ever.
Oh, wow.
They'd be in the conversation. If he puts up these consistent numbers for the rest of his career, I mean, we're looking at a first ballot Hall of Famer. We're looking at that kind of stuff.
I mean, he's already had 2 MVPs. I could definitely see him adding some more before his career's over.
I mean, it's just too early to tell at this point.
He's just hunting for that ring, man. It's been elusive, and now he's got a chance to grab it, and I think he's going to go out and grab it.
I'd be interested. I'd be fine, honestly. I'd be fine with either of these teams winning.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Because you get to see Jimmy Butler get one, or you get to see Jokic capitalize his legacy. I
mean, we're seeing Jimmy Butler, who's, prime as came and went. He's kind of on the downfall of his career. But he's showing people that he still has some fight in him.
Yeah.
And then you look at Jokic, who's in the prime of his career, looking to get that first ring. Like you said, I'd be happy to see either team win.
Yeah. So we'll see. That game is that game going on right now?
Yes, it has started.
That game's going on right now.
For some reason, my YouTube TV is telling me no.
Oh, that's unlucky.
I don't know what happened. I'll try and figure it out. In the meantime, why don't we? I'm gonna let you go on a little MLB rant while I try and figure this out.
Oh, we're gonna get into baseball. Pull up the divisions. You
want to start in the NL or the AL?
Let's start in the National League. Okay. Let's start with the NL East. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a rundown on all of these teams, because why not? The Braves, the Braves are who we thought they were. The Braves are they're 5-5 in the last 10, but this season they've been incredible. Spencer Strider, he's been incredible. Bryce Elder, new guy, he's been incredible. So the Braves are the Braves. The sneaky people in the NL East, we're looking at the Marlins, those fish, 34-28 in June. Can you believe that? How about those Marlins?
Marlins are a very fun team to watch. I find myself always coming back to them and checking out a few of their games every season. Me being a Cubs fan, can't get too hung up on another team in the NL. But
yeah.
If I were to back another team in the NL, it would probably be the Marlins.
My thing with the Marlins is that it's not what they've done in the past. Last season, all the Marlins could do is pitch. But this season, Alcantara has a 5 ERA. He won a Cy Young. But they're hitting. They are hitting so well. We can talk about Luis Arias, who's batting .401 right now. He's chasing 400 for the first time since Ted Williams in the 40s. That kid's having a special season. Brian De La Cruz, he's batting .300. They're hitting home runs. They're stealing bases. They are so fun. They're young. I love this Marlins team. But you know what I don't love? The Mets team. Let's talk about disappointing. The Mets, they got postponed today. Actually, no, I think it was the Yankees that got postponed simply because there's fires in Canada, and it's making New York look like a hellscape. No, seriously, like the sky is orange. It's crazy in New York right now. Worst air quality in the world right now.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that the Mets caused that. I think that might be... I'm just saying that it might not be a coincidence that the Mets are burning to the ground and so is New York. Mets are under 500. They just kind of stink. Underwhelming, to say the least. And speaking of underwhelming, let's talk about the Philadelphia Phillies. Trey Turner, new shortstop, sucks.
Hey, he's fast though.
He is fast, but he's not stealing bases because he's not getting on base. Look, he is a great ball player. I love Trey Turner, but this season he's not having a good year. We could talk about Kyle Schwarber, who's batting like 170.
Wow. I love Kyle Schwarber too.
Bryce Harper's playing okay, but he's not playing every day, I don't think. Nick Castellanos, their pitching staff is getting blown up. They are 29-32. They just kind of stink. We don't have to talk about my Nationals, who are dead last in the East.
11 games back.
My Nationals are really bad. But we have young guys in the farm. We're going to get going.
You're looking for the future, not the present.
Yeah. Do you have any standouts in the NL East that you like?
Surprisingly, it's kind of going the way I thought.
Oh, yeah.
The Marlins. I didn't expect them to be only 3 games back with 34 wins on the season. If I had to pick, standings from before the season started, I'd probably go with the same ones except flip the Phillies and the Marlins.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, put the Phillies in second, Marlins in fourth. That's probably what I would have predicted. Even if it was like the halfway point in the season, that's probably what I would have given you.
Yeah. I probably would have had the same. I mean, those fish, they've had young teams like this before, and they haven't been able to get it done. But it's really interesting to see them really putting it together this year. I'd like to see if they can make a playoff push. If they make a playoff push, that'd be so fun. That would be fun,
yeah.
But yeah, we can move on to the NL Central, where the Brewers are atop that division at 33 and 28.
We don't have to talk too much about the NL Central.
You don't wanna. Byron's Cubs are in 4th place, 26 and 34. What's going on with your Cubs, man?
I mean, pitching has been great. I can't really complain about the pitching. We've had some outstanding performances. I mean, Stroman just won NL Player of the Month.
Yeah, he's been dealing. He's been really good.
Yeah, he leads the league in quality starts. Been great. But not only him, Drew Smiley's had a great season. Justin Steele's had a great season. Justin Steele almost threw a no-hitter.
Yeah, he's on my fantasy team. So where's the problem? Is it with their bats? Is it with their bullpen? What's going on?
The problem is the lineup's consistency. We're changing out a lot of players. Bellinger's one who's not playing every day. When Bellinger plays and we have our normal lineup and we win, we win commandingly.
Mm.
But the problem is getting all those players on the field for the same games. Swanson's another one who, when he's playing, when he's on, he is on. We saw how great he was at the start of the season. First 2 games, both 4 for 5. Started off great, kind of cooled down since then, but not too much. He's still, around 300, dropped a little bit below it. Bellinger's the same way, 280.
Is Christopher Morel still hot?
He, he's another one who's still right there. He's not falling off per se, but he's not consistently doing what he was. Someone who let me pull this up real quick, because it wasn't Morel. It was
choose your character. We're just looking at a bunch of names right now.
Yeah.
He's trying to find who he's talking about.
Because I couldn't remember which one it was. But someone was on a home run streak.
It was Christopher Morel.
It was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Him.
Yeah, he homered in 5 games in a row, something like that. It was around that.
Yeah, yes, that is what I was talking about. When he came out swinging, literally.
Yeah.
And he's kind of cooled off since then, not hitting a home run in every game, unfortunately.
Imagine someone kept up that pace. 162 home run season.
Wow.
It'd be like MLB The Show.
Right, yeah. Like a created character on the show.
But yeah, man, the NL Central is something to kind of ogle at. I mean, we're talking about the Pirates, who have a positive record.
Yeah.
They're 32 and 29, second in the Central, which is crazy compared to who they were last year and the year before and the year before and the year before and the year before. You know what I'm saying?
Every year since Roberto Clemente's been there, really.
But yeah, I mean, the Pirates they're a young team. They're a good team. I mean, they are 1 game back from the lead in the NL Central. And
that's the great thing about the NL Central. I mean, I find it like this almost every season, that any team can win that division. And it's not because it's a bad division per se. It's just all those teams are competitive.
I think specifically this year, you can see the parity. The Reds, even the Reds, they're 28 and 33, and they're red hot right now. They called up Ellie De La Cruz, who just started. He had a home run earlier. They called up Matt McClain, who won NL Player of the Week. 2 weeks ago. I mean, like, they have young guys. I mean, they have their pitching staff: Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo. They have Graham Ashcraft, Brandon Williamson. I mean, they have a bunch of guys pitching. Like, they have so many players on that team, and they're so young. I mean, I could see them being a real force to reckon with within the next 2 years. But this year, I don't think they have it. I think they'll finish middle of the pack, probably third. I think the Pirates will come back down to earth at some point. I think the Cardinals will figure it out, even though they're slumping now.
Big time.
Cardinals started off, they're dead last in the division. The Cardinals started off slumping, and then they got red hot, and they rocketed up to like second in the division. And now they're cold again. I mean, they're 25-37. So they're going to have to figure it out if they want to make any moves.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's one of those divisions where, last place is only 8.5 games back from first place. It's really still at this point anyone's division to win. I mean,
Yeah.
you could look at the standings and then a week later come back and it could be completely different.
Yeah. But talking about completely different, let's talk about the NL West.
Whew. Yeah.
Dodgers are not in first, and that is completely different. Let's talk about the Diamondbacks.
Padres are not in second.
Those Diamondbacks are leading the division. They're really good, man.
Yeah.
Corbin Carroll is a superstar. Zach Gallen is an ace. Merrill Kelly is an ace. Like, they have pitchers. They have hitters.
They took some time off these past few seasons to figure out this team.
Yeah. They were last in the playoffs in 2017. And they've been building this up for a good long while. I mean, they traded Dalton Varsho, a really good catcher, to the Blue Jays, and they got Gabriel Moreno, who is like the best fielding catcher in the league right now for these Snakes. And you have Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who's having a good year. I mean, they won that trade, it looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, they're having a great season. I'm excited to see how they will perform in the dog days, kind of like in August, kind of in late July. So we'll see. I'm excited. Dodgers are the Dodgers. Dodgers are really good. They're pitching really well. They're hitting really well. They steal bases, but they just haven't been as hot as the Diamondbacks. So I don't think it's the Dodgers' fault. I just think the Diamondbacks have just been kind of crazy. Giants, middle of the road, third into the division. Rockies are dead last. But then we have Senor Rebo's Padres, fourth in the division, with Juan Soto,
Star-studded lineup.
Juan Soto,
God.
Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr. Good golly, man. Trent Grisham. Like, they have Ha-Seong Kim. They have a crazy team. They just really...
Jake
Jake
Cronenworth.
They have a crazy team, but they just can't
figure it out.
They just can't hit with runners in scoring position. I was telling Reese the other day, look, the Padres are middle of the road in like every statistic except for RBIs and runners in scoring position. They cannot hit with runners on base.
Very similar to LSU. They've been in, at least in the regionals.
Padres have negative clutch. They're the most unclutched team in the league. It's crazy.
Yeah, if LSU couldn't hit home runs, we wouldn't be in this anymore.
But, they're one game back from the Giants. Actually, technically, they're 2 games back from the Giants. But, Juan Soto is heating up. He's been really good the past month. I can't imagine that the Padres, with that lineup, with that roster, are going to stay fourth in the division. I could see them at least jumping the Giants and finishing third, maybe fighting it out for a wild card with my Nationals. My Nationals are going to win like 70 straight. They're going to win 70-game win streak, and they're gonna fight their way to the World Series. Mark my words.
Yeah, write it down. It's going to happen. It's cemented.
So that's your National League, man.
Do you think the Diamondbacks will continue this hot streak, or you think they'll take a step back?
I think they'll be hot all year, but I think they will take a step back. Just because they're super young and the Dodgers are not. Dodgers are veterans. They have a Mookie Betts who's been in the league, JD Martinez, Freddie Freeman. I think Clayton Kershaw. Like, these are guys who have been in the league. They know how to play consistently. I think young players are more prone to slumping. So I think the Diamondbacks will maybe take a little bit of a step back. They'll probably have like a few weeks where they they go like 10-10, like they 500 or even a little less than that. They'll probably have like a 3-7 10-game stretch or something like that, and the Dodgers will jump them. But I don't see them collapsing. I think they'll be there in come playoff time in October. I think they'll be fun to watch all season. If you get a chance, go watch these Diamondbacks. They're super cool.
And so yeah, that's the NL so far this season. Now, how do we feel about the AL?
The American League. I mean, home to the best teams in baseball. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think it's a question that I just spent the 15 minutes talking about the National League. I mean, but I told my dad the other day, whoever wins the American League is gonna win the World Series. I mean, I think they have better teams. I mean, you have the Rays, who are the best team in baseball, 44-19. Well, let's just break down the AL East here. Not a single one of the 5 teams have a losing record. Yeah. I mean, the Rays have 44 wins, Orioles have 37, Yankees have 36, Blue Jays have 34 wins, and they're in 4th place. And the Red Sox...
take a look at Redfish's Red Sox.
Poor Redfish, man.
31-30, and you're 12 games back.
Yeah, that really sucks for him. I feel bad for Redfish because his team is pretty good. I mean, they're playing better than they were projected to, and they are dead last in the division. It's just because the Rays are having an unprecedented success. I mean, they're good every year, but they're not this good. I mean, they don't hit like this usually. They always pitch, but they don't hit like this usually. Like, they have a bunch of guys who are going to be all-stars. Orioles are having a crazy season. I mean, they can pitch, they can hit. They're young, they're fun. Adley Rutschman is my favorite player in the league right now. I think that's fair to say. I mean, Max Scherzer is my all-time favorite player, but I think Adley Rutschman is my favorite player to watch.
Makes sense.
Yankees are the Yankees. Yankees just aren't the Orioles or the Rays. You know what I mean? Like, they win games, but they don't win every game. So Yankees are going to be fighting. Here's what's going to happen. The American League is going to shape out first seed, second seed, third seed, winner of each division. And then it's going to be the next 3 teams. I think it will be at least 2 AL East teams, and then maybe the Astros.
Yeah.
Because we can move on to the AL West, where the Rangers are winning. I think the Rangers have that division. I know DeGrom just went down, but I think their pitching is still good enough. I mean, he's been hurt. I think their offense is still good enough to get them to the top of that division, especially since the Astros have kind of taken a little step back.
Yeah, I mean, those Rangers have some explosive hitters.
Yeah.
Talk about some power.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Semien is on a 25-game hitting streak.
That's crazy.
I mean, he's chasing Joe DiMaggio. Why not 56? Why not 56 games in a row? But yeah, these Rangers, I think they have that division. I think the Astros could beat them, but I think either way, it's either going to be Rangers win that division or the Astros win that division, and whoever doesn't make it is going to be in the wild card with the second and third place teams from the AL East. The AL Central, ew. Like, what a disgusting division. I mean, the Twins, they have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball, but they can't really hit. Guardians are very disappointing. They can't pitch or hit. Tigers, they can't pitch or hit.
Tigers are the Tigers.
White Sox are
White Sox is kind of a shocker to me because
unbelievably bad.
They had such a great, season last season, kind of out of nowhere. Got their fans' hopes up and then do this.
I think the secret to the White Sox team of last year was their pitching. I mean, Dylan Cease was a Cy Young contender. Giolito, he took a step back, but he wasn't bad. You could talk about Lance Lynn. He had a good year. I think he was an all-star. I could be mistaken. But they were pitching. And the hitting was there, but the main thing driving that team was their pitching. But now these White Sox, I mean, they can't really pitch. Dylan Cease has I think an above 4 ERA. Lance Lynn has a 5 ERA. Like, it's not looking good. Tim Anderson has no home runs. They lost Jose Abreu. So it's just not looking good for these White Sox. I think they're gonna struggle to finish above 500 this year. Royals, they're the second worst team in the league. behind the Athletics. Athletics are the worst team in the league, and they might be the worst team to ever play the game of baseball.
Historically bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was the 03 or the 06 Tigers who won 43 games. The Athletics are on pace to win 10 games less than that. They're on pace to win like 30-something games. Like,
That's crazy.
It is insane. I went and looked at some of the names on their team, and it is slim pickings. I mean, they have Seth Brown, they have Esteury Ruiz, young guy. He steals a lot of bases. He leads the league in stolen bases, actually.
Well, they got one thing going for him.
He might. I could be wrong. He definitely leads the Athletics. Brent Rooker, he's having an okay season. It's just like they have nothing like especially going for them. They're bottom in the league in like every stat. It's remarkable how bad that team is. And it was funny. My dad, he's a betting man, aren't we all? He saw that the Athletics came to town in Atlanta. They were like, "Oh, the Athletics are playing the Braves. We'll see what's happening." And the Athletics suck, and then they beat the Braves, like on the weekend, like they just won. So you never know with bad teams like that. They can beat good teams, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about baseball.
Yeah, it definitely the hardest sport to bet on because
Yeah.
any team can win.
Yeah,
Baseball is just one of those where it's very matchup based, and it's definitely very much based on some guys can have a day.
yeah. So we'll see, man. Who do you have in the World Series at this point? One team from the National League, one team from the American League. Who's in the World Series?
So I will take the favorite from the AL being the Rays.
Oh yeah, you think they're World Series?
I do. I really like this team. They're built tough through and through.
Okay.
Pitching and hitting. I definitely think they have what it takes. In the NL, honestly, a toss-up. There's a lot of teams that I could see, scraping by and making it to the playoffs and then catching fire.
No doubt.
The Cubs are one of those teams that I think they could, with this lineup, catch fire if they make it to October. But I'm going to be realistic and say that they don't make it to October.
Man, I thought you were about to pick your Cubs.
No. I think I like the Braves again this season. I think they can make it out of the NL.
So you have Braves, Rays.
Braves.
And the way you talk about the Rays, I feel like you think the Rays are going to win that matchup.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, yeah, if we've only seen so much baseball so far this season.
Yeah.
But from what we have seen, I think the Rays have what it takes to get them a World Series this year.
I like that matchup. I think it's very plausible. I think the Rays will cool down at some point. Can you go back to the AL real quick? I think the Rays will cool down at some point. Like they'll probably drop to closer
Closer to 600.
Yeah. Like they won't be bad. They won't be winning at a 700 clip. I don't think all year. So I'd really love to see these Orioles make a postseason push. Like if they make it to the World Series and they take on the Diamondbacks, how about that World Series?
God.
How crazy would that be?
All right, think 10 years ago. Now say that statement again.
No, but that kind of makes sense, man. I mean the Orioles were last good around the same time that the Diamondbacks were last good. I mean 2016 they both made the playoffs. It's crazy to think about, isn't it? Yeah. So
it seems so long ago, but
no, but realistically, I mean, I think it's the Rangers' time. I kind of like these Rangers. I know our friends at the Squeeze.
Yeah, they love them.
The Squeeze podcast. They're really gonna love me picking their Rangers in the World Series right now. But I think they have the pitching even without DeGrom. I think they have the hitting. I think they have the bullpen. I think they have the manager Bochy. I mean, he's back and he's fired up. So I think the Rangers are going to take on. I think they could take on the Dodgers. I mean, that's kind of a cop-out pick because the Dodgers and the Braves and that's really it. They're going to be there every year in the conversation. Padres won't be there this year. I really don't think that.
What about those Giants?
The Giants are literally 500. I mean, there's not much to say about the Giants. I mean,
do you think they could, they could get scooped up as one of these wild card teams and make a postseason push?
I mean, they could if they get hot. They would have to get like pretty hot, I think, because I think we're talking about whoever wins the Central, whoever wins the East, whoever wins the West, I think there's going to be another team in the West that makes the wild card. I think there's going to be a team from the East that makes the wild card. So it depends on if you like, at this point, like if we're looking at it, would you prefer the Mets or would you prefer the Giants? I personally would prefer the Giants. So like in that scenario, maybe they make it, or maybe the Pirates or the Cubs come and sneak in.
Yes.
Or the Brew Crew, like they'll be the wild card team. So it's just a little too early to tell with the wild card stuff. I think the Giants are kind of like really, really mediocre. Like they are the epitome of 500 baseball. They don't hit consistently. They don't pitch consistently. So we'll see. We'll see with the Giants. I think it's even though it's June, it's still too early to tell what that team's made of.
Yeah. And we're about to start wrapping it up here.
Yeah.
And looking at the finals game, I did get the TV to work.
Yeah. Denver's up 2.
Denver's up 2.
I saw Jokic had 8 at some point.
And give him 10.
He has more than 8 now. At least I don't know. Last time I looked up, that's what it was.
Yeah. Had fun talking about all these sports, especially LSU. Love them Tigers.
Yeah. I'm excited to see Saturday. They play Kentucky. Did they announce the time?
Not sure. Let me check.
Here, pull it up. We'll give the good people a time. 2:00. Saturday, June 10th at 2:00 Central Time on ESPN. We get the national spotlight on LSU. Love to see that.
Deservedly.
Yeah. So go watch your Tigers on Saturday.
Yeah.
Go watch the NBA Finals. And go watch baseball, man. We need more people watching baseball.
We do, so we can not have to pay for MLB Network to watch a single game.
Yeah. The viewership is a problem. Like, watching baseball is somehow the worst part about baseball right now. So, this has been the Off the Dome Sports Podcast. Thank you for watching.
Always.
We had a great time. Did you have a good time? I don't want to speak for you.
Absolutely. Always a great time with Clown Car.
Had a great time. We want to thank In The Know. Once again, be in the know. Follow them on Twitter, KNEAUX, the only way to spell it. I am Clown Car.
Not Mustang.
And we will catch you next time.